Lieutenant Lynch, may I help you?
Yeah, there's 75 men around our building, and they're shooting at us in Mount Carmel. Tell them there are children and women in here and to call it off.
The sheriff's office was approached by a UPS driver who had been delivering packages to the compound. One of the packages broke open and hand grenades fell out. He approached the sheriff's office and then talked about a lot of gunpowder that he had delivered out there. Lieutenant Barber at that time contacted ATF. So that's what spurred the start of the investigation.
It was very much a long-term investigation. It went on for well over a year. The goal of the raid was to quickly secure the location before anybody could commit suicide, and secure the firearms, and secure evidence from the federal search warrant to prove a conviction on David Koresh and his accomplices.
It was a search and arrest warrant. What happened, though, is that it was used as an excuse to mount a military-style raid on a home that had men, women, and children in it.
I think there's an opening there that you may be able to shoot through a doorway.
When we woke up that morning, the mailman told everybody that he heard that there was going to be a raid. Then we were then prepared to just hopefully just have someone come and talk.
The morning of the raid, we were brought from Fort Hood to a location about 25 minutes away from the Branch Davidian compound. It was a high school. We're using the gymnasium. It was a Sunday. One of the team commanders comes in and he says, "They know we're coming. If we hurry, we can still do it." Which put a bad feeling into everybody. Everybody's going, wow, this element of surprise is one of the most critical things. We had to have element of surprise because we knew David Koresh left most of his firearms locked into a gun room, basically, that only he had access to.
With the element of surprise gone, and with the fact that the Davidians had been preparing for and training for the apocalypse, so people had positions they knew they were supposed to go to, firing positions.
I think a total of 75 agents were brought in to handle this operation. It really wasn't enough. Normally you want a 3-to-1 ratio. We didn't have that in any means. In fact, there was more Davidians on the property than there were law enforcement. I'm supposed to be a hands-on guy. My gun shouldn't even be out of the holster in this entire operation. One of my jobs was, once we got into the door, was to find David Koresh, subdue him, and actually duct tape his mouth shut so he'd shut up and he couldn't tell anybody to commit suicide.
So when the word came that ATF was on the way and that they had not aborted the mission, they walked into a very bad situation.
I saw 2 long trucks coming down the road, and one came in front and went past the front door, and the other one was right behind it, and I saw people getting out.
David walked in from the opposite side of the room, and he says, "I want you all to stay calm, go back to your rooms, and just remain calm." And he says, "I'll go down to the front door and see who it is."
The Davidians fired first, without a doubt.
We never went out gunning for anyone, okay? They came in and they shot at us.
Koresh came to the door, opened the door, and held up his hand and said, "Please go back. There are women and children in here. Let's talk about this." And a fusillade of bullets, as it was described to me, happened after that.
Almost instantly, all hell broke loose. I thought, oh my God, there's going to be a bloodbath.
I put my foot out of that truck and I was immediately under fire. So the entire raid team was supposed to go into the front door. Nobody got to the front door. The gunfire was that intense from inside the compound from numerous points.
Some of the testimony in the trial indicated that some of the first shots were fired with a team of ATF agents who were to go to the penned-up area and suppress the dogs, which suppress means shoot and kill. Another testimony at the trials indicated that some of the first shots could have been fired when one of the ATF agents' gun went off when he went to reach for his holster.
Regardless, it sparked a massive shooting, probably the largest gun battle on American soil since the Civil War. So literally thousands and thousands of rounds exchanged between both sides.
We should have been more concerned about the firearms used against us. But in reality, at that point in law enforcement history, no large-scale group had ever resisted law enforcement like that. It really wasn't into the belief system that that could actually occur. Horrible decision. Once we lost the element of surprise, we should have stopped. There's no way we should have moved forward at that point. So we said, we've got to stop this because they'll just take their time and pick us off. And that's when we got hit with the .50 caliber round through the engine block, and it just knocked the crap out of us. And the shrapnel hit both of us and shattered my leg and multiple places on my foot and put a gaping hole through Larry. It was unreal. We were out there for 2.5 hours after that. Basically, all the agents who were shooting were out of ammo, hoping something would break.
Sheila Martin's husband, Wayne, dialed 911. He got a hold of Larry Lynch.
You know, I'm in the basement of a building that's 15 miles away. All I know is what I'm hearing on the phone. And one of the questions I asked him as things started calming down was, you know, do you need some medical attention in there? Nope, don't need anything. Just need you to get off our property. He said, tell them to back off, tell them there's women and children in here, and get off our property.
Get out of here! All right, calm down. Let me tell you what they're doing. Ceasefire, they're ceasefire. They want to move their injured troops out of there.
He's trying to get Wayne to stop the shooting, you know. We go, we're not the ones shooting, they are, you know, because there were some inside that were shooting as well. And it was only then as they got up to retreat that we realized just how many there were.
Wayne, the ambulance is moving. Steve has agreed to let the ambulance come in. Okay, Wayne, are you with me? Tell them no firing.
And we stood up and walked out. And it was probably one of the most horrific things you have to imagine. You had to stand up and think, these guys have been shooting at us for 2.5 hours. And now we're going to take them at their word that we can leave. 4 ATF agents were killed in the raid, and 20 were badly wounded.
Get that camera out of here! Get out of here! Get that shit out of here!
6 people in Mount Carmel died on the first day of the raid. God, it was a nightmare. Seeing Winston Blake's body laying in a pool of blood. Yeah, it wasn't real, man. It was like being in another. It was almost like an out-of-body experience, really.
Certainly, military tactics were used at Waco, and it was with disastrous results, as we all know. I think the militarization of our civilian law enforcement agencies is a very disturbing trend.
That kind of force was shocking to me. I couldn't believe that is how this was gonna go down. Yeah, I was quite surprised. I didn't think it would happen like that. You don't go in that kind of force shooting in the second-story area of a building where there's a bunch of kids if you really are there to save the children. That's ridiculous.
I have, of course, heard the element of surprise since the day after the raid.
Yes, sir.
Prior to that time, I never heard the term element of surprise. Mr. Hanowski, of course, was the SAC in Houston, and I've asked him many times since the raid, did you feel the raid was compromised when you went in? And he has said no to this day, and I believe him.
Once you lie about one little thing, it ruins your credibility and everything else. There was a stupid lie because we should not have gone forward with the operation. But it tainted everything and led to Oklahoma City.
David could take you right to hell and make you think that there's no way you could be let free from that. Or he can make you feel like you are one of God's people, one of God's children. So yeah, I was in it for the haul, even if it risked my own life.
Hey, it's John Leguizamo. Click below to subscribe to the Paramount Network channel on YouTube for more on Waco.